Dance culture was all over the 2000s, influencing not only movies and music, but also reality TV with shows like America's Best Dance Crew. I have to say that ABDC was one of my guilty pleasures at the end of the 2000s because I was so involved with music and I loved how interactive the show was. But it also brought me back to more nostalgia with TRL. You could vote for the dance crew that performed the best each week, mainly by text message, but also online, and you got to watch the vlog style content of each crew either on YouTube or on dancecrew.mtv.com. Before I jump into this video, I have to give a major shout out to YouTube channel Zach for keeping the majority of ABDC alive. I highly suggest checking out that channel for full seasons and episodes of this amazing show. America's Best Dance Crew really stumped the yard for future talents such as the Jabberwockies, who would go on to be featured in multiple music videos and become such a movement 20 years later within TikTok. If you read reviews about ABDC, the show, which mainly focused on dancing, choreography, and performing amongst some highly influential celebrities of the time, would leave an inspiration of dancers around the world or world of dance. Some of my favorite crews to come out of this show were Super Crew because of their energetic vibe that they showcased on stage, and Heavy Impact because of what they represented, which was that anyone can make their dreams happen regardless of what people think. But also the Jabberwockies, of course. As the mid-2010s became the social media and influencer era, America's Best Dance Crew would fade from the stage. What would happen to this beloved show that left an impression for future dancers, and would controversy behind judges, crews, and viewership be the reason for the step back instead of the step up? America's Best Dance Crew was a defining moment of the late 2000s for dancing. If you wanted a good showcase of what happened to swag, then look no further than this reality show. Because not only were the crews moving in style, so were the crowds. ABDC would fit right in next to other successful TV lineups like American Idol and So You Think You Can Dance. But what made it different from the rest was its interesting history of how it came to be. Now, if you grew up around the 2000s like I did, you will remember just about anything in pop culture was dance inspired. From hit movies like Stomp the Yard, Honey, Step Up, and even Bring It On, to hit songs like Crank That by Soulja Boy or Lean With It, Rock With It by Dim Franchise Boys, it would be a gold rush for talents on a global scale. This would give way to reality shows like American Idol or America's Got Talent. However, at the height of American Idol's success in the mid-2000s, former judge Randy Jackson and NBC would introduce World Moves, which would give dancers a chance of having a touring contract. Dancing reality shows were not anything new, as you could see glimpses of what it would become in hits such as Soul Train in the 70s. But by the time World Moves would start production, reality TV had already been jam-packed with talent showcases. This would leave NBC to turn down the opportunity. However, MTV, who was known heavily for reality TV and music of the time, would step up with a rebrand of Randy Jackson's idea and give us viewers an addicting experience otherwise known as America's Best Dance Crew. The show would follow dance crews through challenges or auditions that would then be judged by select celebrities and voted on through text message by viewers around the world. This would lead to some very interesting talents that would go on to inspire the next wave in dance culture. ABDC would not only reshape what we see on TikTok today, it would influence future talents from around the world to put themselves out there and prove their dreams. The biggest example of this would be with the Jabberwockies, of course. The crew would be introduced in its first season and would go on to be featured in numerous commercials, music videos, and competitions, pushing fans and future talents to seek those same opportunities. Through the show's use of camera angles, slow motion and small backstories before each performance. It would give us fans and the audience a glimpse of how hard each routine would be. America's Best Dance Crew would run for a total of 8 seasons, and each episode would be around 60 minutes of non-stop dance. However, by the 7th season, it would start to show loose footing, and I will get more into that soon. ABDC would have a huge lineup of celebrities that were either judges, spectators, or an intro to the weekly challenges, which for this video, I did rewatch a line of episodes, and the one with Missy Elliott was a little messy, but still fun. The show's host, Mario Lopez, who was primarily known for his role as AC Slater, or the hunk in Saved by the Bell, would introduce each crew as well as have some playful 2000s banter. This would give way to America's Best Dance Crew's success at the end of the 2000s because of how much care and thought was put into not only the crews, but the cinematography as well as the interactive side for viewers. When I say it felt like you were a part of the show, I really mean that. And this was primarily due to the more interesting side of ABDC. You could watch the crews on YouTube either doing promotional skits or behind the scenes material on dancecrew.mtv.com. However, after a few years on MTV, America's Best Dance Crew would face some controversy, leaving the show to fade after 2015. Looking into America's Best Dance Crew and why it never had 30 seasons like other successful reality talent shows, it ranges from poor reception and ratings to constant judge switch up. However, what I could see myself was its lack of focus or ambition towards the end, which caused fans to turn away. ABDC would be canned after 2012, providing audiences with 7 seasons. Wait, didn't I say that it had 8 successful seasons and it had faded in 2015? The show would be brought back one last time in 2015 as more of a fan favorite nostalgia piece for the VMAs, which would then close the curtains for good. So that leaves a question: what happened to America's Best Dance Crew? We first need to talk about the controversy around season 4, which led to its downfall. Jane Sparks, who had been a judge for the show as well as a successful choreographer, was facing a legal battle around allegations of child molestation, which led him to step down. The show would then find other judges throughout its run, but even I remember how confusing that was to watch. The constant switch up of judges as well as celebrity spectators caused some confusion with viewers. But it wasn't just this controversy, as the voting system was overruled by what the judges would say each week. Watching through the show again, I do remember how frustrating it was to see every judge say the exact same thing, which had been more catered to positivity and less on what can be improved. It started to feel like the voters did not matter because everyone would rely on what the judges had put out there. And you can see this very thing throughout some of the episodes that are up on YouTube. So while the show focused more on dancing, which is great, the lack of drama behind each challenge caused viewership to drop. In a Yahoo Entertainment article written in 2012, it would state by the 7th season, ABDC had barely made it past 1 million views. These changes would cause MTV to pull the plug, but it wasn't just because of the show. Pop culture was shifting and the entertainment behind dancing was being phased out, leaving a new wave of influencers. Even though I believe America's Best Dance Crew would not last forever, I do feel that it could have been around for a few more seasons with the right changes. This show altered dance forever and influenced movies like Step Up 3. As you can tell at the end of the movie, it was heavily based around what ABDC presented, including the dance crew's flags. It made it possible for dancers around the world to have their dreams made by posting on YouTube or TikTok, and it gave way to people understanding dance culture. Hell, you could even say that America's Best Dance Crew influenced Bad Bunny's 2026 halftime show just because of how influential it was. With that being said, I love to watch dancing and the stories of how people became so involved with it. A lot of people use dance to influence more positivity, and that is definitely something we need in the world of dance.